really believe that Douglas has played a huge part in my energy levels and me regaining normality.
The individuals that saw Douglas have had significant improvements in health, morale, and that's affected the business no end.
I know that I can go to Douglas with confidence and get the pain taken away.
A weight had been lifted from my body. That's the main thing from me. It's almost like I've been carrying around this negative energy or extra weight.
Thanks, Douglas. Thanks very, very much for my life.
I think his healing is really fantastic.
Douglas is coaching plus. It's not just the tools to enable you to create your goals and make sure you achieve them. It's about understanding that plus, giving you the incentive from the energy that you have within to really make sure those goals are achieved. Very special work. Yeah, I'd recommend him to anybody. Yeah.
Welcome to the second episode of Conversations with Douglas. I'm Sylvia. I work for an international news company based in the US, and I'm here again today in Belgravia, London, to interview Douglas, international healer and visionary. Thank you very much for accepting this interview again, and I would love to ask you some more questions. I'm gonna put my glasses. Yes, what I wanted to ask you first is because last time we spoke about healing, but I haven't had time to ask you about your visionary's journey. So I was wondering if you could please explore your visionary personal journey and how you discovered your unique abilities as a visionary.
I would say that it started off with the healing, because it was the inner voice that I heard that guided me with the healing, how to help people. It was a bit uncanny really to start with, because I'm getting this voice saying, put your hand here, put your hand there, thinking, well, is this going to work? I mean, there was obviously some doubt there for me in the early days. And it took, I would say it probably took a year or so to gain the confidence in this inner voice that I was getting. And when I say inner voice, it literally comes in through my right ear. And it's just like someone else in the room. So it is a bit of a strange feeling.
Were you scared about it initially?
I wasn't scared, I just felt it was a bit odd. But to gain the confidence in what the voice was telling me, that was difficult. And when you're touching somebody to give them healing, I'm relying upon where to put my hands. I'm not medically based at all. For me, I rely totally on this connection. And it was just after some time of that gradually I was giving people messages. And I would say it was probably a bit of a lumpy ride to start with in the beginning, because they weren't all right. Not all the answers I gave were correct, but that improved within about, I would say probably about a year. And then of course it got bigger and bigger. And of course now I give messages to not just individuals, but companies to help them move forward.
Like business and decision making and all right.
So the visionary part is very interesting. As you know, I'm a visionary. I'm not a medium, so I don't bring people from the dead forward. I don't do any of that. There's plenty of good people out there doing that. But mine is just looking into the future. It's as simple as that. But of course, when you look at the healing, if you link the two together, they work very well, because we're looking at healing people for the future. So we're giving information for the future as well. I've often felt that, have I got a preference to one or the other? And of course the healing produces remarkable results. And yes, I mean, I can say to you that there has been miracles. There's no doubt about that. And I've seen it not just in people, but in animals as well, in dogs and horses. And it is amazing what you can see, because those animals can't tell you what you're doing. And yet it works. So I can't do without the visionary side, because I need that part to help me through it. But it's also giving people support and help. And, you know, with the healing, as much as it does do an awful lot of good with people with mental problems or anxiety, giving them the right words also is very good. And it helps them along their way where they are maybe anxious or struggling with anxiety and stress. So the two do go very closely together, hand in hand.
Thank you. Is it happened that some of your clients, for example, were open and happy to receive healing, but they didn't want to have insight into the future? Or have there happened something like that?
Yes, but I never give anybody a message unless they ask for it. So it's down to that person to ask me. As with healing, I mean, you know, as far as the code of conduct goes, they have to give me permission to give the healing, which is the way it works.
So they go hand in hand, healing and the visionary insight. And what role do you think this playing for some people who have, for example, depression and they maybe need some hope, or you know, how does it help them? Is it most of the time is a positive message for the future, or it happens also like to?
Well, you know, one can't conjure up positive situations in every single way, and for everybody. But there's always a good message. The most important thing is to get that person to see clearly. So if you can dispatch the problems of anxiety and remove that from the person, then obviously they're going to see much clearer and they'll be more acceptable to the future. And that's really what it's about, is giving people hope.
I totally understand. Like often what happens is that we have a particular issue, and on top of that issue we have the worry and the anxiety, but because of the healing, then I see, I understand. Thank you. There was like some other question, and okay, yes, basically I was wondering if you know, what sort of obstacles you faced when you discovered to have disability. Like you I remember you reading also from your website, you used to work for corporate business, and I can imagine this was like quite a change. How can you take me?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the first corporate business that I had to advise, or was asked to advise, was difficult. I mean, it's quite a daunting effect on you when you walk into a boardroom and there's a dozen people in there and they're all firing questions at you. But you know, generally once you gain their confidence by giving them answers, it works very well. But there is, over the years, there's been several people that don't believe in what I do. Some people believe it's the placebo effect, and I say, well, if it is the placebo effect, that's fine. It doesn't matter how that person gets better. If they get better because of placebo, or if they get better because of the healing, does it matter? We're looking to help people to get better. So I think that's the way I look at it. But there's been people that have said they don't believe in me, and that's fine. I mean, it doesn't bother me.
You have a number of people who come to you to have a consultation and to ask you what is going to happen in the future, how likely is for something to manifest or not. Yeah, do you have this? You provide this service also, right?
Yes, I provide the service. I mean, obviously I only give what I get as information, so I don't make anything up. and whatever it is, the message that I get for them, I hand it to them. And likewise, sometimes it brings up self-help. They have to do things for themselves, like looking at drinking, looking at eating and exercise and whatever they do.
Okay, so I understand better now. It's also like there are clients who may have a problem with their habits, and you can see, but they may be not aware of it, but you can see straight away what is in there.
Yes.
I see. Yeah.
So there is a little bit of self-help with the healing as well. So with the healing, they need that. And basically, when people are asking me questions for the future, they also have to help that to go forward as well. So they have to look at what they're going to do. It's like saying, yes, you're going to move, but it's no good sitting there waiting for someone to knock on the door. You've got to physically get out there and start looking for somewhere to move to. It gives you the inspiration to tell you that the future is bright. Something's going to happen for you, i.e. perhaps a move or a change of job, change of a partner or whatever it may be. But you still have to instigate it. It doesn't just happen on its own, but it will work out. Timing is probably one of the most difficult parts of the whole thing, because you try and give the best time as you can to someone to say, well, this is going to happen in 3 months' time, 6 months' time. But the way the energy shifts at the moment on this planet is not always totally accurate. I mean, many cases it is, but in some cases it's not. And it's not down to that person often, it's down to the fact of timing. That it's not, the energy level isn't in the right place at the right time to do that for them.
So you find this sort of like timing and more like universal, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, so this could be a possible obstacle to, I see, also from how people perceive the service, right? Maybe, I don't know, it's like, I'm just wondering what sort of, situation, if I'm just curious to find some example, like, for example, people want to, does it happen to you that a client comes to ask you for visionary insight on a property to buy or something like that also?
Yes, and the answers will come up, and 9 times out of 10 they'll be absolutely spot on. But I feel timing has changed really since we had the pandemic. So the last 3 years things have changed quite a lot.
I see this energy shift.
The energy shift, yes. And we started to talk about now a reset in the world, and I feel that there is a reset. I mean, you look around the world at the moment, it's in a terrible mess, and it's very difficult for the energy to be accurate all the time on timing. I've always felt that the energy is always correct in the objective, but not always with the timing.
I see. So yeah, it's for example, what I can see as well from my background job, my job in international news, I can see there is a lot happening at the moment, like strikes and war and this, like so many. So you think this is like something, like an energy that is affecting the whole.
Yeah.
There is something that is affecting the whole planet.
The whole planet is there is definitely an energy shift, and people are changing. I find a lot of people now are quite short-tempered. Some people are quite negative now, whereas they never used to be. There isn't the confidence out there anymore. And I really sincerely hope that it's all going to change, because I'm hoping that this reset that we're going through will improve things, as it was before. I'd say before, I've never felt that we'll go back to where we were. I think this is a new way forward.
Okay.
But we can make the most of that. It doesn't have to be that we're going to get back into the old groove. Let's start a new groove, new ideas, and a new future. That's how I see it.
Thank you so much. This is very interesting for me because we don't normally talk, or I don't normally talk about these sort of topics with anybody. I mean, but from what you are saying, also, I understand is like if I am short-tempered, if something is happening to me, it's not just because of me, but it's something more that is affecting everybody. So I may wake up happy one morning and then there is energy around me because we don't understand how this energy works. You know, do you have some understanding?
I think one of the interesting things is that I'm seeing so many people with chest problems, breathing, lung problems, coughing, and that was never around before in the volume that it is now. And we're talking about a reset, we're talking about a change or a shift in the energy. And I know that the COVID obviously has affected a lot of us in that, certainly with the lung problem, and it's quite scary. So we get a situation of somebody starting to have chest pains, that brings on anxiety. That in itself then takes their energy level down to a lower state. So they're struggling with that. So overall, people are beginning to find it more and more difficult to overcome these problems. And I think this is where the uncertainty of the future is, because it may not be that you actually have the chest problems. It may be someone that's close to you that's got that problem, or your parents, or whatever. And in that sense, you tend to look at life differently because you're getting worried about them as well. So it's affecting a lot of people.
Yes, and your goal is to help as many people as possible to overcome these issues in order to have a better life, to heal themselves, yeah,
definitely. I mean, my objective is to give people back the quality of life, whether it's only a few percent or whether it's a lot of percent. It's to help people get better and have that better quality. And at the moment, if you look at the news, including the international news, I mean, everyone is being hit so hard with the prices of things and the problems that are out there that it's making people feel nervous. And it really is. And I don't feel that we've had this situation for many, many years since the wartime. And it was different then to what it is now, because we've not been used to having any of these problems. So yes, I mean, it's very difficult for people now to cope with.
And that is why I think it's good that is why we are filming it, because so many people don't know that there is this type of service, that there is like the light after the tunnel, that you know, that there is something that things can improve.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very positive about it all. I mean, I'm not negative in any way about it. I mean, I do feel there is light at the end of the tunnel. I do feel that we will come out of this. And I'm just there to try and help as many people as I can to improve their quality of life. It's very sad to see how a lot of people have gone. And some people that may be watching this will say, well, I don't see it, I'm okay. Yeah, but there is a lot of people that you don't see that are struggling, not just in England, around the world, are struggling with life. And, you know, I talk to people, a lot of people in America, and I just know the anxiety that they're going through, and they were fine.
Absolutely.
But now they're not.
And do you think that some people are not aware even of having the anxiety? They're just like trying to cope with everything they have to do without even knowing.
Yeah. They would just say that things are difficult, I'm having a job to cope at the moment, but they don't know it's anxiety. And they are struggling. And of course, you know, in America at the moment, the financial markets are very difficult. Not very easy now to get a mortgage. And so therefore they're not easily able to move. A lot of them are having problems with their finances and not easily to be able to get loans from the banks because the banks are tightening up. It's a multiple of things on top of food and travel. It's just getting worse and worse. And, you know, yeah, open your eyes up because it's all happening. It may not be happening in your area, but it is happening out there. And a lot of people need a lot of help.
So ideally, a client would come in person to this studio, your healing studio in Belgravia, but also you are able to provide healing remotely?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we can do that as well. Obviously, I can't keep popping over to the States or anywhere else in Europe, but yes. And I think, that it's a comfort for people to get that, because they're going through these very difficult times. It's very sad to see it. It really is.
Thank you, Douglas. Yes, I mean, I just remember I saw your website, and you have so many case studies there. And would you like to just bring some example of, for example, a particular case study of individual who recovered from emotional trauma or stress or anxiety?
Well, there's quite a few on the website with anxiety, which I've helped, but also cancer. There's one on there in particular who had a remarkable recovery with cancer, who was told that it's a 50-50 chance that he's going to live, and he would be not in a very good condition if he came through it all, but he came to me for healing. And he's made 100% recovery.
Wow.
And he's had 100% clear of cancer in his body, which was a blood cancer. He's now back to work and he's playing golf. Incredible guy, But I can say that people with anxiety are having improvements. But as I said to you before, with anxiety, it's one of those things that you need to keep working on. You can't just have the odd occasional treatment here and there, because unless you change your lifestyle, you're going to still end up with anxiety. If you don't solve the problem, then you're going to still have the anxiety. As much as it can be lowered and taken away for a short period of time with the healing, is an ongoing situation, Whereas with someone with a bad back, and I sort the bad back out, problem's done. But they're just going to be careful when they go out and not overdo it with their back. But with anxiety, that's different.
So, for example, for someone with severe anxiety, how many sessions would you recommend at least to be able to start moving forward and start breathing again and feeling good again?
Well, I think most people that come to see me that have anxiety, I always say, look, let's do 4 or 5 sessions.
Okay.
But you play it by ear. I mean, if they start to feel better, then I say, look, leave it. Let's see how far you can go without a session. But you get people that say, yeah, I'm feeling good, and all of a sudden something will come along and take them down. But it's not one of those things that I would want to see people keep coming back for. But normally, if they've got anxiety, they've also got some other medical condition, which could well be breathing, chest problems, lung problems. It could be normally that as well. And of course, the anxiety brings on the chest pains, or if they get the chest pains, it brings on the anxiety. So it's one of those situations that, it could take a long time to get that right.
It is amazing how that can affect the quality of life.
Yes.
To have the anxiety, and it's so. I mean, there is definitely so many people who are getting so used to having the anxiety who think it's actually normal to feel anxious all the time. I found that as well. So it's good that you can provide this service. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
I think we have run out of time already. Have we?
Okay. Yeah.
I would love to definitely meet again, because there is so much I want to ask you. So definitely will be some other episode coming in the near future.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Douglas.
Thank you.